All right, let's see how that works. Good morning, folks. Sorry about that. I think my streaming software that sends our live stream to YouTube just totally crapped the bed as I was trying to get everything kind of up and running all at once. So my apologies for that. A little bit of technical difficulty there, but I think we're good to go. Looks like audio is picking up. Let me get my screen sharing started. Yeah, I think I just threw too much kind of, and I think I was considering rebooting this morning because it was acting a little weird and slow. Obviously, some memory or something was hung up in the background that wasn't being released. So anyway, don't need to get into the technical explanation there. Let me get my screen sharing started for you guys. Let's see, we've got, why is that up here? I don't need that right now. Okay, cool. All right, share screen. Go live. All right, you should see my screen now. Hopefully, the folks on YouTube can see and hear everything just fine. Um, so, let's talk a little bit about what we're looking at from an overall market perspective. Um, and then we'll get into recapping the couple of trade plans that we did on Tuesday. Both of those have played out beautifully to the downside. And then we'll get to doing some ticker requests for you guys this morning and to continue to kind of build some trade plans and strategies as we continue to dig into 2024, which has been off to, I would say, a rather gloomy start. So, looking at things from a ES perspective, futures, this is always where I like to start and kind of use futures as a means to get a barometer of what we should be looking at or expecting from the market in general. We have been clinging on to this demand zone for dear life from an ES perspective. We established it here. It's actually 4-hour demand zone. We no, it's not a 4-hour demand zone. Why did I have it labeled like that? Oh, I know what I was doing. I was playing off of, because this was an interesting sell-off and an interesting double top here. So I actually it did something a little bit unusual with this demand zone and stretched it, which is not something I would necessarily recommend unless you really kind of know what you're doing or can keep that in the back of your mind. But anyway, so I think we have a pretty large demand zone. We're now in it. We've been rejecting the top of it. We were pushing down here on this 4-hour trend for a little bit. It looks like we're trying to slip out from under it. Although, at least from an hourly perspective, it does, and we've been back testing and bouncing. But I think if we lose this demand zone, I think overall market's probably going to see a bigger pullback. I would personally be targeting this 46, 60, 75 level that I have down here with the dash line, bottom of the next demand zone to the downside. You'll notice how we've come up and tested that several times as resistance and consolidated below, broke above, nice back test and pushed higher. So I could certainly see a retracement back down to that level, especially if you look at this from a higher time frame perspective. Just kind of a pretty short, brief establishment of supply or support and resistance down around that 4,700 level. But again, I'd probably be anticipating this looks like the stronger level to me if we continue to see a pullback around that 46.60 as a potential first bounce point. No guarantees that we do bounce there, but yeah, anyway, so things are trying to slip out back to the upside, like I said, but clinging on to this demand zone that we established a while ago for dear life. Neptune has flipped bearish on the hourly, going back actually toward the end of the year. We got a short signal. Everything has, except for the moving averages, which are of all the indicators I use, the one that lags the most because they're simple moving averages. So from a Neptune perspective, though, I mean, we went full bearish, including getting a short signal back on December 29th at 10 a.m. And it's just been straight downside with selling pressure on top of us all the way down. And again, was kind of eyeballing this trend line. Looks like we've broken out of it and are trying to back test it as support, but that doesn't seem to be holding. And again, maybe I do need to nudge this part of the trend line up a little further, but even still, looks like we're sliding out from under it. So may not have been a whole lot to go on there, or at least not enough interest in the bulls of continuing, even if we do slide out from that little bit of a downtrend. So Anyway, that's what I'm looking at from an ES perspective. Overall, looking kind of bearish to me, at least at the moment. Not saying that the sky is falling or anything like that, but just be mindful that right now, I think for the time being, uh, the better they're the best place to focus our attention on um, would be probably looking for downside plays and opportunities to short tops, at least until we get down to this next demand zone, assuming that we do lose this demand zone we're currently in. I would say a break below 47.29 is definitely a uh, would be a clear signal that that would be the right approach, at least for the time being, at least until we get down into that area. So, going to do some trade plan recaps here. We did these Tuesday morning live on the live stream, just like we're getting ready to do some this morning. Coin, this trade plan was requested again this past Tuesday, so one of our first trade plans of the year. Coin with a really nice breakdown below our put entry, a couple of backtest opportunities across those two 15-minute candles there. Whether you let it push up into the overall resistance zone that exists between the put entry and the put stop loss, um, or if you were waiting for something that looked a little cleaner, around 10:15 on Tuesday, that candle really clean back test there after breaking down below that support, rejected, took us straight down to PT1, another very near back test, and then ultimately to the downside for PT2 plus same day, and then PT3 and then some going into the open on Wednesday. So all targets achieved here on coin. Seems like crypto is stabilizing a little bit, whereas markets generally are not. It doesn't seem at the moment. So these could be a good. This could be a good sector and area to kind of keep your eyes on if you want to focus on kind of potential diamonds in the rough upside trades. Is slipping back above PT3 for puts, so clearing that what was resistance back to support and back over the 100 SMA, which is positive. Neptune flipping more bullish here on coin. So keep an eye on it. But overall, successful trade plan, all targets achieved within uh, 2 trading days. So good stuff. And for an overall, what did we have that? About $14 move. So yeah, $14 in 2 days should have printed nicely on those put contracts. IWM was the other one we did on Tuesday. Kind of similar scenario. We got the breakdown going into the close on Tuesday, right here. Several back tests showing resistance. So that's a good entry. Hopefully, you didn't get shook out by this one pump candle that stalled right at our stop loss average down level. Then we ultimately gapped down. Headed into the open yesterday and caught PT3 and then some throughout the day. And if you're still riding some of these IWM put contracts, they are continuing to print handsomely for you. So, uh, as always, plan your trades, trade your plans. These plans were there for you to capitalize on. I know generally speaking, especially going into the close of 2023, we were very much, in buy the dip mode. But if your plan says it's time to play for downside, especially if we're talking about specific tickers, sometimes, stocks, independent tickers can move independently of the market overall. So, if your plan says play for downside, even if you think overall the market's bullish, play for downside and just stick to your plan, stick to your guns. So that does it for our recaps and our quick discussion on ES. Tried to get through that as quickly as I can since we had a little bit of a delay getting started due to those technical difficulties. Let's see. We've got a couple of charting requests here. New trader looking for Bank of America and BABA for all or nothing. So let's get started on those. And let me caffeinate myself there a little bit. All right. Bank of America. All right, it's been a while since I've looked at Bank of America. Not one I look at too often either, not for any particular reason, just it doesn't land on my radar much for I'm not sure why. But let's get a sense of sort of where we're at. Looks like we had some old trade plans on this one. Don't know if I was using long short tools last time I looked at bank. Oh, I was. So it looks like we did a last trade plan on it was April of last year. So almost a year ago was the last time I really took a good look at this. All right, well, that's not a big deal. We've got a good start on levels, it seems, so that's always helpful. But let's just double check things real quick. Let me clean up this chart, get the old trade plan details out of there. And let's take a look at this. I always like to start on higher time frames. All right. Strong move off of this weekly support. I also consider that a weekly demand zone. And then yeah, looks like we're getting ready to run into a, well, could be a little bit lower. Let's take a look at this on the daily chart real quick. Probably has it in about the same spot. Yeah. I think we've got a daily demand zone right here. This doji-ish candle. Or, sorry, supply. So those are kind of the key ones I'd be keeping on watch. Definitely looks very flaggy at the moment here on the daily. So let's keep this on watch as well. Not a confirmed trend, at least not on the daily chart there yet. Only 2 touches. That's definitely our ascending trend line. All right, let's check our levels real quick too, just to make sure these all still look solid. Yeah, I was curious if that would do that. I think this is sitting more like right here. Sorry. So this is something I've actually been playing around with, and I think overall I've settled on not adjusting my data for dividends. Back to this weekly chart. I don't think that's probably moved that too much. Right there. And then let's take a look at, yeah, that still all looks good. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I looked at it that way. And we're getting our touches and everything cleaner than I was seeing a moment ago, so that's kind of what I was expecting to see. So anyway, I didn't realize I'd left this chart with that turned on, so it's looking off for a second there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think we got a daily level here that we're going to want to keep on watch that I didn't have yet. And it looks like we have another one here. This weekly level, I feel like may have been nudged around a little bit. Looks a little cleaner right there. Looking at these tests back there, that nice bounce there, and that clean rejection right there. I think that weekly level either just wasn't drawn super tight or has been moved a little bit by time and price action, which can happen. All right. do have a 4-hour level. Or no, sorry, it's a 1-hour level there. That almost looks like it's a little tiny bit higher too, like right there. Yeah, that's cleaner. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot else that I think I want to add or mess with, at least on these higher time frames. Well, take that back. One more level I think we should add right here. Well, we need, yeah, I don't think we're gonna, I think if we even use this as a PT3 up there at 3860, I think that's gonna be probably the highest we should be shooting for. So let's take a look at this from an hourly standpoint, throw our indicators on the chart, see where things agree, where do we have confluences. Interesting rejection there. Though that was after a big run. But I'm just curious if that's an actual level up there. You would think it would be, or there'd be something in this neighborhood, but at least on the higher time frames, I didn't see anything. Yeah, there is something sitting right about there. At least on the 4-hour chart, I can see it. So we'll keep that in mind as well. Looks like things can really open up a bit over this 3478 level. That's kind of what I'm eyeballing as a potential entry for continuation at the moment. Could maybe start one level lower actually. Let's see. Let's go back this way. Yeah, that's that level we just drew. So it didn't quite catch it on that candle, but on that one it does. Yeah, I think we could get a little bit of an earlier entry on this actually. So what I'd be looking for is a break of that 3455 level. First target, I think we get up to, why is that like that? I think we get up near this weekly level at 3546. Looking at how that sort of bottles up there, but before it, we rejected just below. I mean, that's well within the reasonable range. So, again, targets don't have to hit precisely if we're within a reasonable range, generally speaking. Um, I'd say depending on the dollar value of the ticker, anywhere from like 10 to 50 cents is within the reasonable range. Um, that's like within 4 cents of this target that I'm looking at. So just make sure that you're scaling out on approach to 35.46. Don't necessarily wait for 35.46 to hit precisely, even though it might. Um, you're not going to see any real change, any material change in your premium prices, options contracts between kind of where that little premature rejection took place and actually hitting the target. Next target over that, I think clearly 3602. And I think we'd be crazy to shoot any higher than 3677. So kind of bing, bang, boom there up the levels that are on the chart. There's one that we kind of, I think, slide right past probably. They're at 3478, but yeah. And then over, let's see, stop loss average down. I already spotted that. Definitely right here at 3396. Just didn't flag it yet. That would also give us a breakout over this downtrend. So yeah, I like that plan for the upside on Bank of America. To the downside, I think if we lose this weekly support, it's going to continue to pull back. The only thing I'm a little bit hesitant about is the strongest buying pressure on Neptune and the 100 SMA driving up kind of in that range right there could cause a bounce shortly after you break below 32.89. So I almost think that the safer move, let's look backwards at this a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of adding to my belief that 32.38 is our entry and 32.89 is actually should be our stop loss average down. And I don't see, in fact, I see things that further agree with that and nothing that argues against it as far as what's on the chart. So then the question becomes downside targets. Interesting resistance, kind of consolidation, a little bit below this weekly level. That's kind of where I would be targeting. Let's take a look at this other move through this area back here. A little bit torn on this. Let me look at this on the hourly versus how I was looking at it on the 4 hour. This is an interesting little move right here. I don't have a level at 31.79. I don't know if there is one at 31.79, but I think it's this 31.64. Kind of what I was thinking a moment ago. That was a very volatile move to the upside. So not surprisingly, like a wick kind of shooting off at a spot that just doesn't look like a strong level to me. Second target, 30.79. That one kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Let's get back to this recent move. Below that, yeah, shooting for this 30.21. Nice rejection there. Kind of consolidated as support right around it before pushing higher. So this is what our trade plans look like for Bank of America. I think we've got some solid levels and good plans here on this one, in the for what it's worth. All right. Okay. Here is Bank of America trade plan. So what we're looking for here on Bank of America is for a break over 34.55 to play for upside. That should give us targets at 35.46, 36.02, and 36.77. With a stop loss average down at 33.96. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 32.38. That should give us targets at 31.64, 30.79, and 30.21 with a stop loss average down at 32.89. That is your Bank of America. Thanks for the request, new trader. All right. So let's take a look at BABA for all or nothing. And sorry, Kareem, you jumped on with a hot mic there for a second, buddy, so I had to I had to mute you. Not sure if you were aware. Okay, let's go. Baba. Oh boy. Baba, Baba, Baba. The these are always fun to chart, the Chinese tickers, because of their big gap ups and gap downs, kind of on a daily basis, pretty much. Clean some of this stuff up real quick, just so it's not distracting. Do, do, do. Okay, so Baba. Again, these are always a little bit tougher to chart because they do a lot of their moves. A lot of the price action takes place while American markets are just totally closed. So, not that it can't be done, it's just a little bit more of a challenge. But who doesn't like a good challenge? All right, that looks good. As you can see, kind of like what I was saying, just gaps, gap, 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 gaps all over the place. Yeah, I think there's something sitting right there too. All right, let's see where that puts us as far as potential trade plans go. Interesting level here. Actually, I think we'd also want, oops, didn't want to do that. It's a good way to put it, Chris. Although I don't, I don't have I just don't like things that can make those sort of dramatic moves, regardless of sort of, what's the right way for me to say this? Kind of the prevailing technical analysis. Like if we're using SPY or ES or whatever to kind of gauge, like, okay, are we bullish? Are we bearish? Should we, be buying the dip, shorting the rip, all that sort of stuff. It becomes a whole nother. Yeah, I do remember that CD. Um, it's just a whole nother level of kind of like it's like people that trade crypto on leverage, like trading options on Chinese stocks, especially ones that can move the way Baba moves. I mean, if options aren't already exhilarating enough, you're really, you know, looking for some extra drama in your life if you get into some of these guys. So, anyway, I digress. All right, let's see. So, what what do we want to do with Baba here? Okay. I think kind of keep coming back to this 77.62 level. I think that's kind of what opens up the real move to the upside. But there is. Let's take a look at this here. Yeah, I just continue to kind of reaffirm that the more I look at this. It's a little bit of a wait. But what I'm thinking, I mean, so you could potentially take an entry over the 76.53 level, I would think, and shoot for 77.62 as a first price target. That being said, I really like the setup better for 77.62 to break to open up more upside, and then using 76.53 as our stop loss average down. Um, Targets. It's gonna be close, but I think that is. Let's check this real quick. It's going to be very close. Yeah, it's right in line. I think that is the first target at 78.88. I think you got another target right above that, 79.77. Over that, though, That's when we really see kind of the potential upside really start to move. Um, there is this little dip down to there. There could be, yeah, I think there is a level here. Just don't have on my chart, or this level's a little bit off. Could be. I think that's, yeah, I was maybe a little bit overzealous about how much that upside opens up actually. Over 81.15 now. I'll go ahead and throw this out there. I do think there's potential for 83.51. Whoops, change that. There we go. That's where it kind of ramps up. All right, downside. So let's expand this out. Those are our three price targets, but we do have a potential fourth overhead there. Downside. Yeah, I think it's below the 74.04. We also have the hourly 333 SMA sitting right there. I'd want that. Whoops. I'd want that to be out of the way. How much downside does that really open up though? Yeah, I think our first target's here at 72.95. The stop loss here at 75.34. Right? I don't know, actually. That could be the better stop loss just above. Or I'm sorry, that was 74.89 I was looking at. Yeah, I think 75.34 is the smarter stop loss. Then we kind of wind up looking at another. I think this, yeah, this is going to be super close, if not upside down. So maybe, just maybe, yeah, that's pretty significantly upside down on the risk reward. Getting to PT1. So we need to adjust because I don't like how that sets up like that. Guess there's potential looking at this in a little tighter. I think there is, yeah, and it probably, well, does it move the needle enough? That's the question. I don't know. I think this could. Long story short, I'm not necessarily loving this downside setup at the moment. If you don't love the setup, don't force it. Um, yeah, I mean, that slight shift puts it back in balance at least. And I said earlier, I'm going to stick to that. Plan your trades, trade your plans. So if the downside confirms, I think you got to take a shot at it. I think our next target, though, below that, 72.03. And below that, I think we make a run for this double bottom down here at 70.13. So it kind of opens up a little bit down there. But again, both of these kind of iffy starts. So just, be cautious. Don't be afraid to start small and average up. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of great traders actually average up. Sounds like a very counterintuitive thing to do, but if you're at a good trade and it's moving in your favor, why not increase your exposure and also give yourself a favorable, uh, you know, average cost per contract from getting in earlier. Um, so anyway, these are, I should say, our Baba trade plans. Yeah, I agree 100%. Chris, gap ups, gap downs are nuts. I think Chinese trades or Chinese tickers are definitely better for day trades. It's definitely a lot less stress for sure. All right, so what are we looking at here on this BABA trade plan? Well, we're looking for a break over 77.62. That should give us price targets at 78.88, 79.77, and 81.85, with a stop loss average down at 76.53. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 74.22 with targets at 72.95, 72.03, and then 70.13. So again, opens up quite a bit after a PT2 with the stop loss average down at 75.34. That is your BABA and Bank of America trade plans. All right, with that, we're about 15 minutes from market open. I do need to go get the SPY plan put together, which will be posted in the options watch list as it is every morning. For those of you who are new to Xtrades, please make sure that you're checking that out and taking advantage of it. Also, as our good friends Strife and Chris have both mentioned, the monthly survey was just posted. Please, please, please take a moment to go and participate in that. Your feedback is absolutely critical to us. Hopefully, you guys finished up the year strong, but make sure that you give us your input on who's provided you with the best insights, the best education, the best trade alerts, whatever the case might be, whatever you found valuable here at Xtrades. Make sure that you are showing recognition to the folks who are bringing that value to you here in the chat. It is a big metric for how we gauge our performance here as a team. So we really rely on our members to provide that feedback in those monthly surveys. So please making sure you're filling those out and giving us your input. And as always, as we say here on the FOMO live streams, make sure that you plan your trades and trade your plans. Go out there and get some green. I will see you guys in the chat. Have a fantastic day. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, hopefully without any technical difficulties, which we have been a long time since we run into any of those. So I guess we were about due this morning. So anyway, thank you guys again for joining me. I will see you all in the chat. Have a fantastic day. Thank you, Chris. Have a great day, brother. Take care, everybody.